has enough votes really to declare victory in his eyes?
Well, on some of his earlier points on the calls of the networks or non-calls, we still do have some states outstanding, and the president might be right that there are some places that he could win that maybe have been called too soon. I do think there's just enough out there that we don't know the result. There are ballots, though, that are out there that have been cast according to law, and I think those are going to be counted. And if you listen to the president's words very literally, he seems to indicate that they might not be. I think that's not going to happen. I don't think courts will support that position. It is possible that there will be arguments between the parties about specific things, specific questions about a particular class of ballots. But the big class of ballots that are out there that have been cast according to the laws that have been in place are going to be counted. And I think we're going to know some of these big states in the next day or two. If we really get into a recount situation, then we're going to be fighting tooth and nail about some of these very specific questions. But the ballots that are out there in some of these states like Michigan and Pennsylvania, they are going to be counted probably tomorrow, maybe the next day, and we'll have a better sense of who really wins. If it's close, again, this will begin again, but I don't.
Karibu Mara Machineries, solution to all your machine problems. We are located in Kisii town next to Old Gatembe Hospital along Kisii Migori Kisumu Road. We deal in machineries like maize sheller, chopper, posho mills, coffee paring machines, chaff cutter, gold crusher, backpack pumps, water pumps, car wash machines, generators, and many other machines. Why waste money when you can save with us? Mara Machineries gives you quality, durable, and affordable products.
This has been what Trump has sort of been telegraphing. And again, really important to emphasize the fraud that he's talking about. There isn't evidence of that fraud. That what we're seeing so far, we still need. There are still states that are continuing to count ballots. If you look at Arizona, for example, and really importantly, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, those three states. So we still have a lot of counting to be done.
Interesting, though, listening to Trump, he called for himself Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and those blue wall states, Michigan and Wisconsin, saying that he's so far ahead that even if all the results aren't in, he doesn't feel anyone can catch him in those states, but saying that maybe Arizona, which also is still being counted, that maybe, it's been called a bit early for Biden and he could still take that one back. How far is he really? How crucial are these states that are still up for play?
Well, the states that are still up for grabs are very, very crucial to the outcome of the election. I think what a lot of Democrats were worried about was precisely this, Trump making a sort of speech like this, and then and we'll have to see what happens again in the next couple of days, but then having lawsuits in some of these states where you have ongoing counts of the ballots. We've already seen a couple of cases already reach the Supreme Court over the counting, accepting of ballots that arrive past election day, that are postmarked by election day in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, clashes over whether or not the deadline should be extended for accepting those ballots. So the Supreme Court has already weighed in on those two cases. I think if you're a Republican, your strategy has been precisely this: to try to cast out and to try to, or at least certain Republicans to try to cast out on these votes and to try to cut off the voting process. That's something that, again, it's really important to say that Trump has telegraphed this, and Republicans have been alluding to this. And I guess another really important point to mention is the potential importance. Again, it's speculative. There's a lot that needs to happen, but the potential importance of the Supreme Court in a case like this. A lot of people think that part of Donald Trump's reasoning behind getting that confirmation of Coney Barrett, to the Supreme Court was precisely to have her in place before an election. In the case of a contested election, you have a 6-3 conservative majority on the Supreme Court. And again, a lot needs to happen, but that sort of is looming over these conflicts, over these potential legal battles that we could see in the coming days.
Indeed, we did hear him mention the Supreme Court already in that brief announcement. Cole, for now, thanks indeed. Well, we've heard how Donald Trump sees the current picture, but for our view on it, let's cross over once again to Solange Mujan for the latest across America as the results come in.
Yeah, let's focus on the math, on the real numbers. Let's do a breakdown of where Donald Trump and Joe Biden are right now. As you can see, states have pretty much gone along red and blue lines as expected. There are some notable differences, though, coming up. And I'd like to put focus on one of two states in the United States that do not have a winner-takes-all system for the Electoral College. One state is Nebraska. And Nebraska splits its Electoral College votes between the candidates. Now, this is partially true in the sense that, yes, Donald Trump has won 4 Electoral College votes there, but Joseph Biden has won 1 as well, the Electoral College vote that is for the district around Omaha. Another state that uses the same system, the non-winner takes all system, is the state of Maine. Now, the state of Maine hasn't been fully called yet, but we do know that 1 Electoral College vote has been attributed to Joseph Biden. So these Electoral College votes could be key, especially if Biden takes the blue wall and states such as Arizona. Now, why would they be key? Because Donald Trump has taken the state of Florida. This was a tiebreaker, and Donald Trump has managed to win the state of Florida. Another state that is going to be very important for Joseph Biden is Arizona, a swing state that used to be a reliable. There's Florida, but let's go back to and take a look at Arizona now. Arizona is 11 Electoral College votes. Biden right now seems to be doing well there, but it's really too early to tell. Absentee ballots could be counted by Thursday or Friday. So again, margins are changing in Arizona, but it could be a key state for Joe Biden. If he wins it, it might be necessary, along with states like Nebraska and Maine, to get to the final count of 270 that Joseph Biden needs to win the Electoral College.
So not over yet. Solange Mujan, thanks a lot for that latest updates. But we can speak now to former US ambassador to the Central African Republic, there until 2017 when Trump took office. Also, someone who has a wide experience working in Europe and Asia, Mr. Jeffrey Hawkins. Thanks for your time. Can I firstly ask, I don't know if you've had the opportunity to hear there, but incumbent President Donald Trump more or less saying, as far as he sees it, as things stand, he is the legitimate winner of these elections, despite there being a number of swing states still to announce their results. He says that if things change from here on, he's calling it fraud.
Right. Well, that speech that the president gave, I think we can say is premature. This election is still very much, on the balance. We don't know who's going to win. And clearly, both Trump in the statement that he just made and Biden in the statement that he made about an hour ago are setting themselves up for the hours and days, perhaps, that are coming. And as people concentrate more and more on Pennsylvania and perhaps Michigan and other places, each side is wanting to project strength. And the president in particular is wanting to do that, and setting the stage for court cases and challenges to the results if they don't cut the way that he wants.
Mr. Hawkins, postal votes, as I understand it, it's nothing new in US elections. However, there has been a much higher turnout this time around, it would appear, and an unprecedented amount of voting in this manner. Could there be difficulties when it comes to the count, simply even dealing with the number of votes?
Well, perhaps, and let's not forget also that these states have all had a chance to sort of practice during the primaries, and some did better than others. But particularly looking at Pennsylvania, which is only now turning to counting the votes that were mailed in, everyone has been talking about this concept of blue shift. In other words, the people that go to the polling place on election day are a little bit more likely to be Republican. People that are mailing in their ballots are more likely to be Democratic. And so we could see things changed perhaps dramatically in the next few hours or even the next day or two. And again, I think the president in his speech a few minutes ago was trying to set the stage for contesting that if, in fact, Pennsylvania shifts blue over the coming hours.
Of course, Pennsylvania, where there's 20 electoral votes up for grabs. Also, that's one of the states which is known as this blue wall states that were traditionally Democrat, but which changed or went Trump's way, rather, in 2016. Also, you've got in that Michigan and Wisconsin. Are they the states that Joe Biden now needs to be declared the winner of in order to stay in this race?
He absolutely needs to do that. And going into this contest, given the polling and everything else and what we knew about voting records in those states, Biden had a number of different ways to win the presidency. And the president, Trump's sort of path forward to a victory was much more narrow. And now that Trump has taken some of these key states, places like Florida and Ohio and all the rest, Biden's pathway to the presidency is narrowed, and it definitely goes through Michigan, and it definitely goes through Pennsylvania.
Nowhere near calling things as yet so far, but when you look at the picture on the issues, what do you think may have played in favor of either side? Donald Trump has made his campaign very much about the party that will maintain law and order in the country. Joe Biden saying he's the decent man and will reunite what looks like an increasingly divided country.
Well, apparently, according to some initial exit polling that was done, I mean, this contest really comes down to Trump supporters who say that, the economy is important and we can't shut down our economy because of COVID, and Biden supporters who say, look, this health issue, this public health issue that we're dealing with is so important and has been so mismanaged by this president. We have to focus on that first. And so it's really a race, between the economy and COVID. And at this point, it's really too close to call.
We were looking a little bit earlier on, a number of cities across the United States. It looks like a lot of people fearing violence in the aftermath of this election. Shops, businesses boarding up their exteriors. Our reporter in California saying the number of people buying guns had risen massively. Do you think tensions are reaching new heights there?
Well, thus far, and we cross our fingers. I mean, thus far, that's one of the good news stories of this election day so far, is there doesn't seem to have been a lot of the disturbances that people were worried about. Now, as we go into this very fraught period here, and particularly if there's conflict over the results, or if say Biden wins and it's close and the president is contesting results in a number of states, there we could see real tensions. And also, if either side feels that the election was won unfairly, and Trump has clearly set that up for his supporters if Biden wins, and certainly a lot of Democrats are very mistrustful of the president's motives. In that circumstance, we could also see large-scale demonstrations, and we could even see electoral violence.
And we could see the issue also being brought to the Supreme Court. How do you see that play out?
Well, as your viewers may recall, the 2000 election was played out in the courts and ultimately in the Supreme Court. And so a number of these challenges that the president is likely to make, and perhaps Biden also, about the results in various states are almost certainly going to end up in the Supreme Court. And as we know, Trump just placed a third justice on the Supreme Court, and the conservatives now have a 6-3 majority on that court, which doesn't necessarily mean they're always going to decide in favor of the president, but it certainly gives him an edge.
Mr. Jeffrey Holkins, former U.S. ambassador, currently professor here at Sciences Po in Paris. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Quick break now from the Rolling Live coverage, but we are going to bring you a look at the French-US relations. Allies for centuries, they can also rub each other the wrong way. How much of this is due to subtleties getting lost in translation? How much because of fundamental cultural differences? Well, French Connections Plus, so Florence Villeminot and Jeannie Godula delve into the love-hate relationship between France and the United States.
France and the United States of America have been allies for centuries. And yet, despite the mutual fascination and admiration, they can rub each other the wrong way.
You might say that they're best frenemies. Now, being Franco-American, this one is really personal. How much of it is due to fundamental cultural differences, and how much of it is things just getting lost in translation?
Join us for this episode of French Connections Plus, where we dive into the love-hate relationship between France and America. That great symbol of Franco-American friendship, the Statue of Liberty.
The statue, which stands in New York Harbor, was actually a gift from the people of France to the people of the United States. It was designed by the French sculptor Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi, and the metal framework was built by Gustave Eiffel, who went on to build the Eiffel Tower.
Now, the original Statue of Liberty was dedicated in New York in October 1886, but there are many replicas of the statue around the world, including several here in Paris.
Now, the original statue, which was built in honor of U.S. independence, was seen as a joint Franco-American commitment to the ideal of liberty. Because remember, the two republics were founded on very similar political philosophies and the ideals of liberty, equality, and justice.
France and the USA have strong ties that go back centuries. In many ways, they wouldn't exist as they are today if they didn't have each other.
France and the U.S. have had each other's backs for centuries. The two allies have never officially been at war with each other and have often fought by each other's side. During America's Revolutionary War against England, France's help was decisive in the U.S.'s eventual victory and independence. During World War I, Americans fought alongside the French and other allies, and after the Great War, the French capital became a beacon for Americans hungry for a life without consequences. The so-called lost generation, including Ernest Hemingway and F. Scott Fitzgerald, as well as many African Americans eager to escape segregation like Josephine Baker. During the Second World War, the U.S. played an instrumental role in liberating France from Nazi occupation. A cemetery in Normandy honoring U.S. soldiers who died in the conflict is officially considered American territory. After the September 11th terrorist attacks, newspaper Le Monde echoed what many French people thought in its editorial. Nous sommes tous Américains. We are all Americans. But relations took a sour turn after France's refusal to participate in the U.S.-led invasion of Iraq. This led to freedom fries being served at the congressional cafeteria. But despite the ups and downs, Franco-American military, political, and intelligence cooperation remains crucial today.
Many of you had questions about Franco-American relations, particularly about how we see each other, like Santoni, who wanted to know, what is the stereotypical American to the French?
Where can I begin, Jeannie? The stereotypical American is loud and obsessed with money and puritanical and not very cultured or sophisticated and convinced that America is the best country in the world without necessarily knowing that much about the rest of the world.
French people see America as a country of extremes, extreme wealth, extreme cars. Everything is supersized, including the people. But the American stereotype of the French isn't much better.
Well, the cliche goes that French people are rude and negative and overly confident.
Keep watching Voice of Victory TV, leading souls to Christ.
Eduka ya chire ime ya bosongo anteberia babusiba ito eko onya ebito ao ao tigoliranse mchele sukari, ama very fresh, ama siya mandazi, oma chero mokene noku, ama gutama yake giba.
Unique supermarket, Unique supermarket, Unique supermarket. Eko onya ebito ao digoriranse.
Eduka ya Unique All-in-One Superstores ime yomochwa songo nigo egukoraliria ebintu ao aserigori lya muguko enyolere chindagira ao buna emechere chisukari amabuta yogokaranga amasie obokima nalia ya mandasi amabere ni chindagira chinde chinyinge aserigori ligi ya mono. Eduka ya Unique Superstores boigonkoni abale ebintu bya nyumba buna chibesini amarangeti chineti chikapeti cha nyumba ebirogo byebirole nebinde ebinge byokogokya okonene minyoka bwango toti wa maiga mbabwate chisabuni au chili misuligi ya Eduka ya Unique Superstore ni gobale abasani asokolenda enda babwate chindagira chirosirie ao ichichire chinyansumono otarusumono aroro abana bakembarati wa maega chindagira chabo nigo chire chinyinge chibirengo bigoro inyora edukeye nigo ere nebirengo byobochenu bwa igoro mono totalire ime yomochubo songo anyene kigambero ekenene gya kisi barabare negetasini gya chigali gya keroka asamange kenyole asisi 0777220320 Unique All-in-One Superstores Limited Omosani.
Keep watching Voice of Victory TV, leading souls to Christ.
Alitupwa kwa tundu la simba, lakini simba hawakumla, sababu Bwana alikuwa naye. Kama yule Danieli alitupwa kwa tundu la simba, lakini simba hawakumla, sababu Bwana alikuwa naye. Kama yule Danieli alitupwa kwa tundu la simba, lakini simba hawakumla, sababu Bwana alikuwa naye. Na sisi leo tukiomba kwa imani, Bwana atatuokoa, tusiingie majaribuni, hata shetani atuteke katika mitego ya dhambi. Bwana atatuokoa, hatutaangamia milele. Na sisi leo tukiomba kwa imani, Bwana atatuokoa, tusiingie majaribuni, hata shetani atuteke katika mitego ya dhambi. Bwana atatuokoa, hatutaangamia milele. Shetani anatuteka katika tundu lake la dhambi, lakini tukiomba kwa imani, hakika Bwana atatuokoa. Shetani anatuteka katika tundu lake la dhambi, lakini tukiomba kwa imani, hakika Bwana atatuokoa. Shetani anatuteka katika tundu lake la dhambi, hakika Bwana atatuokoa. Na sisi leo tukiomba kwa imani, Bwana atatuokoa. Tusiingie majaribuni, hata shetani atuteke katika mitego ya dhambi. Bwana atatuokoa, hatutaangamia milele. Na sisi leo tukiomba kwa imani, Bwana atatuokoa. Tusiingie majaribuni, hata shetani atuteke katika mitego ya dhambi. Bwana atatuokoa, hatutaangamia milele. Tukiomba kwa imani, Bwana atatuokoa. Tusiingie majaribuni, hata shetani atuteke katika mitego ya dhambi. Bwana atatuokoa, hatutaangamia milele. Na sisi leo tukiomba kwa imani, Bwana atatuokoa. Tusiingie majaribuni, hata shetani atuteke katika mitego ya dhambi. Bwana atatuokoa, hatutaangamia milele.
Jipe moyo ewe mwenzangu, safari ngumu, matatizo mengi njiani, lakini usife moyo. Tia meli yako mafuta, kwani sio mbali. Jipe moyo ewe mwenzangu, safari ngumu, matatizo mengi njiani, lakini usife moyo. Tia meli yako mafuta, kwani sio mbali. Meli yako ina mafuta ya kutosha. 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 Meli ndiyo Ukristo wako, mafuta imani. Fanya ima ewe mwenzangu, na usirudi nyuma. Kaza mwendo umalize, kwani sio mbali. Meli ndiyo Ukristo wako, mafuta imani. Fanya ima ewe mwenzangu, na usirudi nyuma. Kaza mwendo umalize, kwani sio mbali. Meli yako ina mafuta ya kutosha. Meli yako ina mafuta ya kutosha. Meli yako ina mafuta ya lakini jihoji naposongwa na dunia, wakumbuka kuomba. Tia meli yako mafuta, kwani sio mbali. Kwaheri ewe mwenzangu, lakini jihoji naposongwa na dunia, wakumbuka kuomba. Tia meli yako mafuta, kwani sio mbali.